G'day everyone, I thought I'd share my experience as someone who does DIY to install a gate latch onto this side gate that we have. So the latch I'm installing is by D&D Technologies, and for anyone that's interested, there's the product number, and it's lockable on the front and on the rear. Here is some of the stuff that came with it. So the first step is to measure the width of the gap between the gate and the post, and for this mechanism it needs to be between 16 and 38 millimeters, and for that I think we're good at the moment. Next, after that, you can see that the gate sort of swings inwards or towards me, and the post is on the right. So you get the part which goes on the rear, which is this, and they also give you this part here, and that can flip to be for a left-handed gate or for a right-handed gate. So in this scenario, this is going to be a right-handed gate, and this one sits on the back where the gate sort of swings into it, if that makes sense. So you can see that's the orientation I need for this piece, and you put in two of the tiny screws in the bottom and the top, which I'll do after this, and you can do the same thing with the part that goes on the front. So this is where the lock and barrel for the front exist, and I'm just going to put this in. So the lock needs to be on the bottom or orientated sort of downwards. But, you know, if you wanted to do it the other way, then you just flip the lock around in there to the other side. Once you've figured out the exact orientation you need, you use this little clip, and sorry about the horrible camera, apparently you just sort of snap it into place once you've chosen your orientation, and there it is, snapped in. Next you need to choose the height for the latch. So with this post, it's going to sit at about 1600, and I want to line it up with one of these bits of Merbu, so I've decided that it's sort of going to sit about there. Now I found that using the jig is a little tricky, because what you're drilling is that hole. You're not actually drilling, you know, this one or that one, so you've kind of got to line up where you want that hole to be. Now I found that it's about 32 millimeters from the bottom of this. So you can see I sort of marked out where the latch, where the latch will sit at the bottom, and then from there I've measured up 32 millimeters. So from the bottom of the latch to there is 32 millimeters. Then they give you this jig. So with this jig, so I know exactly where my hole is. You need to mark item number one, or little thing that says number one. So you mark that in, and mark the side as well. So you can see there's the line, and then on the other side you do the same thing. So you put that there, put the jig on, and then you drill into number one. Sorry, you mark off number one there as well. Now before I start drilling, what I've done is used a hole punch, which I strongly recommend, and made a divot in there without obviously whacking a hammer on that one, right on the back, and that makes that little divot. The exact same thing over here. Otherwise your drill bit will slip and slide if you're not pushing hard against it, and even if you are pushing hard, I'd still recommend having something to stop the drill bit from wobbling around. So when you're ready to go, you start drilling with a small pilot hole. In this case I'm using 3 millimeters. So I realised I've actually drilled the hole in the wrong spot. I actually had a line which was below this one and intersected with the hole on this side, and it's purely my fault. What I should have done is the line should be above the hole, So you can see I did have it on the hole before, but it should be above the hole, and then you've got the jig set there. It runs across like that, and then on the other side it should be up here. So when you've got your pilot holes in my case, you just put in I'm putting in a 12mm drill bit, but it should be 13, and we'll see how it goes. And a tip for those that don't drill very often: hold the trigger with your middle finger. It is very likely that the drill bit will will get caught as you're drilling through this, that it will snag, and if you're holding it with a different finger, your wrist can easily twist and go and cause some damage. But if you're holding it with your middle finger, you've got more you've got a better grip, and in theory you shouldn't snap your wrist if it does get caught with the metal. Now, whenever I drill bare metal, I do like to put a bit of extra zinc on there, or this stuff is as a good example of it, to prevent rust or anything in the future, or give this a bit more life. So in this scenario, I'm just going to quickly dab some onto this crappy old cloth, and kind of dab it in there. Alright, so next we're going to be using this thing, which will connect the two sides of the latch. They give you two sizes. This one's 120mm or 5 inches roughly, and this one here looks like it's over 140, so it'd be about 150 or 60 or something. Or in other words 6 inches. So what we do is we just slot it on. So you can see there's a little there's a female and a male kind of end that should meet, and once you've got them, you should see that it sort of twists the lock as well. Make sure you don't have anything plugged in there, sorry, there's no key, and then that thing just sort of slots straight in to the hole. When you're ready to go, I've lined it up with the marks that I made earlier. You can see that the rod goes through the middle. It's just leaning against the edge of the hole at the moment. And then when you're ready, so you start drilling the four screws to secure it in place. So I've secured my first hole, and this is an example of what happens when you don't use a hole punch for the holes. So you can see I started drilling, and then sort of this moved, and I was drilling in the wrong spot. So what I did was then put a hole punch, got a hole punch right in the center of the hole. Same with the right in the center on this bottom one, and that'll keep things from slipping around when you're drilling into the steel. And so that's the first part with 4 points of contact. So next, this rod needs to extend out only 5mm, and the jig they give you here has a width of 5mm, so that works pretty well. Push everything in as far as it'll go, and you'll see exactly where your 5mm ends. In my case, it's basically on that line there, because I know that this post is 65mm wide anyway, and adding 5mm gives me exactly 70mm. So this is how I've chosen to cut it. There you go. So once you're ready to go, there's a little washer that you insert into that space. You can see there, that comes with it. You insert that in there, so when you're ready to go, that obviously slots on and do the exact same thing that we did on the front. Mark the holes with your hole punch, again 4 of them, and you're almost ready and almost done. Alright, and when you've attached using the 4 screws, you can give it a test. So when you push this button, you should see that the latch opens. Same thing goes with actually using the key. So if I use the key and I lock it, shouldn't be able to push it, which is the case. Even on this side, I can't lock it and then also unlock it, sorry. But I can use the key and we're good. To make things easier, I've used a pencil to mark out exactly where the striker is going to be mounted. Then in the middle of those sort of oval shapes, put a spot for the screw using the hole punch, and then it's just a matter of using the self-tapping screws to attach the striker. And basically drill it there. And she's done, aside from the screws on this side. And that's it. With those screws done, you can simply close the latch and open it, and we'll try it from the other side. There's no handle in the gate at the moment, but there you go. And that's sort of what it looks like now. You can barely tell it's even there. Push the gate and she's open. If anyone has any comments or anything you want to add, please feel free. Thank you very much.